Hey guys, welcome back. So today let's talk about a topic that's been in my mind for some time, and I've got a lot of emails inquiring about this particular topic. The topic is, how much does a doctor earn in a practice if he sets up his own private practice in Germany in comparison to Switzerland? So private practices are slightly different compared to being in a hospital. So for example, I am employed in a hospital in Switzerland, and even in Germany I worked in a hospital. I never had a private practice of my own, but I do have friends who have had private practices or who have worked in a private practice for a long time, and now they're colleagues with me in a hospital. So there is a little bit of difference between these two countries. So I'll go into the details of how practices work in Germany and in Switzerland. So first of all, it's unlike other countries. I don't know how practices work in other private practices for doctors works in other countries. For example, the US. I know how it works in India. If somebody becomes a consultant after finishing his training, he can directly open a practice on his own, and he just needs referrals or patients come to him in his practice. It works slightly different in Germany and in Switzerland. In Germany, if you want to open a practice, you have to actually buy the practice. What do I mean by this? The number of practices for a particular district or for a particular town in Germany are restricted. As an example, let's take my field, radiology. So in a small town in radiology, the number of practices allowed in this particular town, maybe 3 practices are allowed. A new radiologist who's just passed out cannot open a private practice in this new town. He can only join an existing practice if they are willing to take him, or those who are going into retirement can sell their practice to a new radiologist. So what this means is the 3 radiology practices have complete monopoly on all radiology cases in that particular city. So you can imagine the turnover that these people have in their radiology practice. For example, in the city I was working in Germany, there was just one practice, radiology practice for mammography in the entire district. And they had such a huge monopoly, turning over millions and millions per year. And obviously the doctors were very rich. The radiologists had gotten very, very rich there. And so let's say you want to buy a practice. If you're lucky, once in a while, lucrative fields like radiology rarely come into the market for purchase. And when they do come, they are staggeringly expensive. They run in millions, like 10 million, 12 million. And of course, there are several banks, and there's a bank which specializes in financing practice purchases. It's the Edelstein Apotheker Bank in Germany. So this particular bank is ready to give out loans to doctors who want to buy practices. Obviously, it's a very lucrative market, especially in certain fields like radiology, ophthalmology, dermatology, plastic surgery. These practices are highly sought after, but certain practices can be had for pennies on the dollar. For example, house arts or general practices, general internal medicine practices, there are plenty, there are dime a dozen, and there are not enough doctors wanting to buy it. In fact, several practices in villages are empty with nobody taking over these practices, and this is why there's a huge demand for these kind of practices. That's a general practitioner practices all over Germany, especially in villages. The thing is, of course, in lucrative practices like ophthalmology or dermatology or radiology, you can earn a lot of money. So private practices are obviously lucrative. Of course, in Germany, the number of practices in a city and in a district are limited, and if you want to have your own practice, you have to buy out an existing practice or join an existing practice. You can't start a practice on your own. In Switzerland, it works differently. So this is how it is different. So in Switzerland, there are 2 kinds of hospitals. There are hospitals that train doctors, like university hospitals and other district hospitals, and there are hospitals that don't train doctors. So in German, this is called Weiterbildung. So you should have worked as a consultant or as a junior consultant in a hospital that trains doctors for at least 3 years. If you work in a hospital that doesn't train doctors, you will not be eligible to open practice in the future. So make sure that you look for hospitals that do train doctors, and you should be there for at least 3 years. And once you finish those 3 years, of course, if you want, you can stay in the hospital or you can start your own private practice. There is no limit to the number of private practices in Switzerland. A young doctor who's just finished his training can go ahead and start his own private practice, irrespective of how many private practices are there in that particular city. There's no restrictions like in Germany. So of course you can go and start your own private practice, and there's no limit to how much you can earn. Another big difference is the way in which the health insurance system is set up in Germany and Switzerland. In Germany, there are two kinds of health insurance systems. One is the state health insurance, one is the private health insurance. So they're slightly different. So in a state health insurance, it costs slightly more, but if there's a family of 4 and the father is insured, then all members of the family are automatically insured under this health insurance system. The private health insurance works slightly differently. So if somebody has a private health insurance system, each family member has to be insured separately. It's slightly cheaper, and I think meanwhile it's almost the same as the state health insurance. Since the past 1 or 2 years, the rates have increased even for private health. Usually it used to be around 200 euros less than the state health insurance, but now they're almost equal. You would ask, what is the advantage of having a private health insurance if each member of his family has to be insured? And the advantage of a private health insurance is you will be given preference for appointments in practices. Let's say there are 20 patients in a waiting list to get an MRI of the knee. So if you are a private health insurance holder, you would be given preference. You will get an appointment almost immediately to get your MRI of the knee, or if it's an operation, you will be given preference. The reason is this: private practices earn much more through patients who hold private health insurance compared to a government or state health insurance. The differences is quite huge. So private practices are always vying for private patients. They want to have as many private patients as possible because the profit margins are much larger, whereas state or government health insurance is they earn much lesser. So in Switzerland, there's no such system. There's just one health insurance, and it's a private health insurance. All citizens of Switzerland must hold a private health insurance. There's no state health insurance system. That means if you are a family of 6, each member of the family has to be insured separately. So this can get quite expensive in Switzerland. Of course, the rate you pay for health insurance is much lower in Switzerland. For example, in Germany, if it's around 850, in Switzerland it would be around 300. So the difference is quite huge. And that means private practices in Switzerland get only private patients, and this is why private practices in Switzerland, when successful, are extremely lucrative. And add to that, the low tax levels and the huge number of write-offs means that private practices in Switzerland turn over a lot of money, and doctors in private practices sometimes earn in millions here in Switzerland, and it's crazy. So I hope this cleared out the differences between private practices and how much a doctor earns in private practices in Switzerland and in Germany. If you have any questions regarding this, you can post it in the comment section. I'll be posting a Calendly link with this video if you want to have a one-on-one chat with me, and if you have further questions on how to work as a doctor in Germany or in Switzerland. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click the like button. My course is being readied as we speak on how to become a doctor in Germany or Switzerland, and with that will also be a German language course so that you can get your B2 level as quickly as possible. So see you until the next video. Bye.